Hey guys, I'm the Comics Kid 2099, and I'm here to review a book that I just got yesterday for myself. It was a couple of days ago, if you're watching this on the day that it went up. I got Usagi Yojimbo, Volume 1, The Ronin. This book is from the mid-1980s. On the inside cover it says 1986, but then the very first issue is dated 83 or 84, so I'm not really sure when it actually got started. But this is by a guy, I don't actually know how to say his name, Stan Sakai, I think, or Saki. I'm really not sure how to say his name, but this is a really long-running indie series. Like I said, it's been going since the 80s, and as far as I understand it, it's still going on today. And basically, it's the adventures of this samurai rabbit. And that's really all there is to it. It's not a goofy series. If you see this and you're thinking that it's along the same lines as like Looney Tunes or Pinky and the Brain, it's not that at all. It's just a normal samurai series that just happens to have anthropomorphic characters in the leading roles. There are humans in this story. This may be a little bit spoilery, but Stan Sakai also was involved with the character Gru the Wanderer, who I think is a little bit more well-known than Usagi Yojimbo, but he worked on Gru. I think he lettered it, I think. I'm not really sure what his involvement was in Gru because I've never read that series, but there is one panel early on where Usagi and Gru each are passing each other in the street and they kind of give each other a death glare, and I thought that was pretty funny. And then, this is where it gets a little bit spoilery, but then we find out that the big bad of this series, or at least the big villain for this volume, he is a human being. And it doesn't really make sense. If you're thinking about it really hard, it really doesn't, because every other character in this series is an animal, and then you've also got animals who are not humans, such as dinosaurs, three-headed dragons, and horses, and then turtles and fish and stuff like that. But then you've got animals who are humans, and then you've got humans who are humans. So if you're thinking about it along those lines, it's not going to make a lot of sense. But really, those things, they're not even nitpicks. They're so much lower than nitpicks, because if that sort of thing really bothers you, then I can't recommend this book to you, because this book really is fantastic. And those things, like I say, they're so minor that I noticed them, but I didn't even care that those things were going on in the story. This book is very all ages friendly. It does have a lot of violence in it, but it's not a bad kind of violence. It's a very innocent kind of violence, I think. If you look at, say, The Sentry or Black Adam from Marvel and DC Comics respectively, those characters are willing to rip a supervillain in half just because, and there's really no rhyme or reason to their violence. And that sort of thing, I don't really need to see Black Adam ripping a terrorist apart on live TV. I really don't need to see that in my comic books. And I'm not one of those prudes who says that things should be the way that they were back in the 1960s and that there should be absolutely no violence at all, because I'm obviously recommending this book, and this has got a lot of sword fights, a lot of like decapitations and stuff like that. So it's not even like something that you would see on a cartoon, but it's not very gruesome, if that makes any sense. Yes, we do see animals getting their heads chopped off, but almost always, I can't think of a single instance in this book where it's unmerited. Usually, Usagi Yojimbo, he's a samurai, and so he follows the samurai code, and that means that if you've got a group of bandits over here who are trying to kidnap a little boy, he's going to go and chop their heads off because they're bad guys, and that sort of thing. It's an action that is met with an equal or greater action, if that makes any sense. It's not one of these things where he's overreacting to the situation too much. There are 10 or 11 stories in here. Some of them are 22-ish pages long, about the same length as a normal single issue. Some of them are about 10 issues long. And it's all in black and white, and the style is very cartoony. I personally really like that kind of thing. I've said before that the cartoony style is more up my alley than the more uber-realistic style. So if you don't like the kind of cartoonish style, you may not like this story. Other than that, it's very standalone. You don't need to know a whole lot going into this. Of course, this is Volume 1, but before I ever read Volume 1, I read Volumes 16 and 15 and 16 from my local library several years ago, and I did not know anything about the character of Usagi Yojimbo when I read those books, and I read those two volumes, and I ended up really enjoying them, and they made a lot of sense. It wasn't like I was just pulling my hair out, really confused, what's going on here? I need the previous 14 volumes to understand what's going on. It wasn't a series that was structured in that way. And so if you're looking for a series to get get into, a new series, you want something that can take up some of your time, this is something I would very much recommend. There's like 20-something volumes. It's still going on today, and like I said, the first, I think I said this in this video, the first 7 volumes are done by Fantagraphics. Yeah, right there. And then the rest of the series is done by Dark Horse. And I think I said that. If I didn't, I've said it now. And that's about all I have to say. This series is really great. It's very fun and enjoyable. I would definitely, if I had a kid, I would let my kid read this. Even though there is violence and stuff like that, it's not excessive. It's not really grotesque or gruesome. I don't think that this is inappropriate. I think that if you are kind of like me and you're saying that comic books need to be more for kids, or at least we need to have more comics that are for kids, this is something that is very much what I'm talking about. It doesn't talk down to kids, but it is appropriate for children and for adults as well, because I enjoyed it, and I'm planning on getting volume 2. So I highly recommend Usagi Yojimbo, The Ronin, and I will be picking up the later volumes. I'm really glad that this series is still in print. I don't know why, but for some reason I thought that the earlier volumes were very hard to find, very highly priced online, and then I saw this at a comic book store, and I got it, and I don't regret that decision, and I will get the other volumes and hopefully review them as I read them. So that's all I have to say about this book. I will see you guys tomorrow with a video review of an episode of Batman the Animated Series. Until then, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.